Okay, I don't know about you, but in my neighborhood, everyone has been out the last few days working in the yard, beginning to make plans for home improvement projects, that kind of thing. But our next guest says make sure you literally work from the ground up. And what a fitting day for John Brandon to be here. He's with AFS and the rain's falling outside, which means those basements and crawl spaces might be getting a little leaky.
That is correct. Usually on a day like today, we get a lot of phone calls.
So it is not really the fun part of home improvement, right? Everybody wants to plant the tulips and make the yard look pretty.
Right.
But if you don't have that foundation strong, everything else falls apart.
That's correct. I go to a lot of homes. Everything looks fabulous, landscaping, interior, but there are cracks in the foundation. As soon as I get under the home, we discover problems that certainly need to be addressed. The most important part of the house is the foundation.
We were just talking with Charlotte Mabry recently, and she was mentioning that it's really important from a seller's perspective, or from a buyer's perspective really, to make sure that the sellers are taking care of the structural issues of a house more than the cosmetic. This is a big investment if you're looking to sell the house.
That's right, and our job is to make sure that nothing goes wrong during the inspection period. I believe that sellers are trying to do great updates to the home when they're about to list it on the market. A lot of times the foundation is overlooked, but that's the first thing an inspector is going to look at. He's going to go into the basement, he's going to look at the foundation, he's going to go in the crawl space, and that's usually when we get a call.
So we bought our house that we live in now about 5 or 6 years ago, and when we bought it, the seller was so proud, and he took us on this walk around the yard, and he was so excited to show us the crawl space because before they even built the house, he had had it encapsulated.
That's right.
And then within a year, something happened with our plumbing, and that crawl space that was pristine flooded.
Right.
And thank goodness we had you.
That's right. That's right. If we encapsulate a crawl space, even if there is a leak that has nothing to do with us, like a plumbing leak, we're going to come right back out and fix it. And I agree that that when you open up a crawl space door and you see an encapsulated crawl space rather than a moldy, musty, wet crawl space, it adds just assurance for a homeowner and a buyer, but also adds a lot of resale value.
You mentioned a key word, and that's mold, because it was surprising when it is encapsulated, and not everything you do will involve that. I realize that, but there's a cleanness that you feel.
Oh yeah, 50% of the air we breathe in the house is coming from the crawl space. And after an encapsulation, that nice, clean, filtered, humid, we keep it at a consistent humidity, so all of that is rising through the home, and the HVAC bills usually go down. And you can experience in the house, after a couple weeks after an encapsulation, you'll walk into your house and it will feel different. That's certainly true.
It's a worthwhile conversation to have about the encapsulation, because so many houses around here have crawl spaces. Not all do. So with the work that you do at AFS, if somebody has a traditional basement, do you sometimes begin by walking the property line just to see where water might be collecting?
Yeah, so if you have a basement, typically it's going to be below grade, and a lot of basement homes in Chattanooga are on hills, so water can collect on the backside of the home where the grade of the ground is higher. So the first part of our inspection is to see grade of the ground, where water might be intruding from, but then we'd like to go into the basement and take moisture readings and see how it's intruding through the block, whether it's through the block itself or whether it's through the footer joint.
Can there be a situation, I'm going to kind of throw you a curveball here, but where somebody, maybe a homeowner, had an issue and they've corrected it with their basement or crawl space or whatever it might be, but they didn't necessarily correct damages that were done from that water? Can that happen?
Yeah, so there are a lot of fixes for waterproofing. If you go on YouTube, you'll see 100 different ways to do it. There are fixes that are temporary. There are fixes that are Band-Aid fixes. Our job is to always get to the root of the problem and to fix any damage that occurred, because a lot of times water intrusion doesn't just mean water, it can mean foundation settlement. So just getting rid of the water didn't fix perhaps a broken footer or a part of the wall that's now differentially settling away from the rest of the house. So it needs to be inspected.
So when you come out, do you begin with that foundational part, but then do you kind of take a look at the whole house in case there's an issue higher up?
Exactly. So if there are symptoms in the home, like cracks in drywall, cracks in the corner of doors that aren't opening properly, rather than just patching those or trimming doors, that's usually a foundation issue. So sometimes what I like to do is actually go up top first to see what's going on, what is the top of the house telling me, what is the roof line telling me, what are cracks on the outside, cracks on the inside, and then going down below really tells me the story of why all this is happening in the first place. So any inspection we do is an absolute full inspection.
It's probably a little bit like going to the doctor. A lot of people put it off because they just don't want to know.
That's right.
People don't always want to hear what
That's
lies
right.
beneath. So from a cost perspective, do you kind of lay out the granddaddy treatment as well as the beginning treatment?
Absolutely, and I like the doctor analogy because the first thing people experience when they go to the doctor is symptoms. And they may not know what's going on. It could just be a very small isolated issue, or it could be a symptom of something that's a big issue.
Mm-hmm.
So when we go into a house, it's typically not an all or nothing repair. We do a full inspection, therefore we're going to give a full scope of the work. Mm-hmm. But what specifically I like to do and my colleagues is to lay out to a homeowner, here's what's objectively happening in your house, here's what it would take to fix the whole thing, but we can also do this in stages, we can piecemeal this, we can make sure that this aligns with your budget and expectations, so that we're not coming in there and just shocking people with a big price tag.
Perfect. Okay, so getting you out to people, do you come and do that at no cost, or is there a fee to come out?
Our inspections are completely free.
Okay.
And so even if you don't use AFS or hire us for anything, you're getting a lot of value just by going on the website or giving us a call. A certified field inspector like myself will come out, and our inspections take about 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's a very intense process. And at the end of the day, you're getting value in the sense that all these unknowns are now known. And at least you know objectively what's happening. What you choose to do with that information is always up to the homeowner. But yeah, it doesn't cost anything unless you do work with AFS.
All right, then here's the phone number if you want to grab a pen and paper and jot it down. It's AFS, you know their name. AFSrepair.com is the website. 528-8680 is their phone number, and you pretty much travel the viewing area?
Yes, yeah, anywhere in the viewing area, we can come out and inspect the house. That's correct.
Great to see you.
Good to see you.